Hi guys, Jeff Manchester here. In today's video, I want to talk about 5 things you can start doing today in order to become, I think, a better composer. Before I get started with the list, I just want to say that a lot of people have expressed some interest in me doing a podcast. I was thinking about doing like a video podcast that I post on my YouTube channel, maybe once a month or twice a month, depending on the volume of questions. I was thinking about calling it like the Vodkast. I just like drink vodka and answer questions. And if you want to get that started, I'd be honored. You can just submit a question to the email in the description, or you can follow me on Twitter at JeffManch and just ask a question with the hashtag Vodcast. And I'll put that on the screen so you guys know what to do. So if I get enough questions, I'll answer them, and maybe if I get enough subscribers, I can like reach out to a company and maybe give away a plugin or something like that, because I have like 1,000 subscribers now. It's only been like 4 months. So anyway, if we can get that started, that'd be awesome. Okay, let's get into it. 5 things I think you can do to become a better composer. Now, these don't have anything really to do with plugins or software or whatever, because I feel like in the right hands, that stuff will either sound amazing or terrible. These are more general rules. So rule number 1 is it's health, basically. You want to make sure that you're eating right, sleeping well, exercising. I know it sounds kind of silly, but I read a lot of posts on Reddit that start off like this. Like, I'm very depressed. I think my music is terrible. I should quit or blah, blah, blah. And I think that a lot of people who are making music are sitting kind of all day. Sitting is like the new smoking. You know, it's terrible for your spine, for your back, all that stuff. When you don't have a good sleeping pattern and a good eating pattern and at least some exercise during the week, I feel like your image of yourself and your self-esteem and your self-worth kind of goes down, because you don't look like you want to look. And so that kind of bleeds in, that negativity bleeds into your creativity. And so it's just like this weird sort of a spiral of negativity, a downward spiral of negativity. So I feel like controlling for how much you're eating, exercising, all that stuff, when you start to look good and feel good, then I think that inspires creativity and self-esteem, and hopefully leads to, good things with your creative stuff, and you'll feel better about yourself, and you'll feel better about your talents and your abilities in the music making process. I know I'm one to talk. Like, if I took my shirt off, be enough to bring you to tears. I have like the physique of a scallop, but you can't get to a place where your health starts to suffer. I mean, a lot of talented engineers out there, but they just look, like Dave Pensato, super knowledgeable guy, don't get me wrong, but like the next thing that guy reviews on his channel should be like a piece of broccoli or like a carrot. He looks unwell. Don't let it get to that point for you. Keep your health in check, and I think it'll sort of boost your self-esteem and your self-worth and lead to more successful, projects and stuff, and more confidence too. A lot of guys out there, guys and girls, are lacking confidence when it comes to their work. So I think exercise, eating well, and sleeping well, I think leads to successful outcomes musically too. Number 2 is also related to health, and it's hearing. You want to protect your ears. I mean, when I graduated from audio engineering school and learned about decibel levels and sound pressure levels and sustained time listening to music at loud levels and the effect that has on your hearing and stuff, I just stopped. I swore off headphones. So I got rid of my Apple EarPods. I gave one pair to my girlfriend. I sold the other pair. I got rid of my Harman Kardons. I got rid of everything except for my Audio Technicas, which I'll just put on for 2 seconds just to monitor. It's been a lifestyle change, because now whenever I walk and stuff, I have nothing in my ears. But knowing that I'm not doing anything to harm my ears and I'm sort of mitigating future problems regarding my hearing and all that stuff makes me feel better as an engineer going forward, and as a composer going forward, because the kind of damage you can do to your ears, especially at a young age, like I'm 30, but a lot of you guys are much younger, you can prevent a lot of problems later on. There's these things called hair cells in your ears. They're not actually hairs, they just look like hairs. And if you're listening to music at like, let's say 90 decibels, if you listen to music like that for a really long time, you can flatten the hairs, and that just temporarily causes some hearing loss, but you can just damage the hairs altogether, and that damage is irreparable. There's nothing you can do about it. So you want to be really, really careful that you're protecting your ears and mitigating and controlling for all kinds of problems that you'll have later on. Your ears are super precious. I mean, Eric Clapton, I was reading his biography, he admits that he's like legally deaf now, pretty much. Anyway, don't get to that point. Protect your ears. It's going to require probably a big lifestyle change, but you're investing in yourself. I mean, you spend all kinds of money on gear and monitors and stuff like that. Why not invest in your hearing? That would be my advice. So number 1, sleep well, eat well. Number 2, swear off headphones if you can. Just get rid of them completely. Also, it seems like ibuprofen and anti-inflammatories, taking those in excess also leads to hearing loss and hearing damage. So I'll leave some links to some of the stuff I'm talking about below, by the way. But if you can avoid, whatever brings on your headache, so excessive drinking or foods you're sensitive to, allergies or whatever, even if you like that food, if it brings on a headache, which eventually leads to you consuming more and more anti-inflammatories and all that stuff, try and change your life a little bit so that you're making sure that you're not, messing up your ears just by taking pills. So that's it for the health portion. So tip number 3 is become very comfortable with your keyboard. I'm talking about the piano, right? Your MIDI keyboard or whatever you have at home. You ever go into an interview and you're like really impressed by someone and you want them to be impressed by you, and they go to ask your name and like tell them your name, and then they like take out the 2 fingers and they start typing and you're like, whoa. You know what I mean? Like, you are going to be able to play faster, explore more notes if you're using all of your hands to play the keys. And if you familiarize yourself with chords and modes and intervals, so interval is just like the distance between 2 notes, major and minor, all that stuff. It's like going from 2-finger typing to using all of your fingers, and you're going to become a faster composer, I think. And you can learn about intervals. There's all kinds of really great resources on the web to learn about major, minor, scales and modes and all that stuff. It's really easy. You don't have to go to some fancy music school for a couple of years. A lot of the stuff can be self-taught, and I think it's very easy to sort of get used to hearing the difference between a minor and a major chord, or a minor and a major interval, or a 7th or a 5th. It sounds kind of funny if you've never done any music sort of before, but I think there's some amazing resources out there for people who want to learn about music theory, or just enough music theory to help them make better music as a composer. In that same vein, I think you should also really get familiar with the keyboard shortcuts that you have on your computer, and not just for, let's say, Ableton or Pro Tools or whatever you use, but just your Mac or your PC. So, hitting Command-Tab to switch between applications. In Pro Tools, just bringing up a new track, making it mono, making it stereo, whatever. It's funny because your ability to master quick commands might be the difference between you getting and not getting a job. It's a funny story. When I was at school, we were told that there was this one guy who had in a bunch of recruits, 5 of them, and he had them go in one by one, and he put them at the computer, at the desk, at the mixing desk, and say, okay, call up Pro Tools. Open a new track, make it mono, open another track, open an aux, just really simple stuff, like add a master fader. If at any point they used a mouse, they were sent home. That was it. It sounds ridiculous, but it showed that companies value people who learn quickly and know how to get things done in a really quick and efficient way, so you can focus on just the music making. So the same goes for creating templates. That's going to solve a lot of problems too. A lot of people are resistant to templates because they think that, I'm using a template, it's not really creative, and I like to start from scratch every time. I felt like that too, but now that I have templates set up in Pro Tools and Ableton, I feel like I'm more flexible because I can instantly swap things out instead of reaching for the plugin, dragging it on, putting my parameters. I've made enough music now to know what compressors and de-essers and all the rest of it I use on a daily basis. And I have them bypassed or unbypassed, and I can just toggle them on and off and route things here, and I can get a mix done probably in a third the time it took me when I first started, because I've started using templates in Pro Tools and Ableton. So really familiarize yourself with shortcuts and templates, and stop 2-finger typing and stop 2-finger playing with your keyboards and stuff. Number 4, learn the fundamentals of audio. When I went to school, there were a couple of ways that you could sort of hear the difference between 7K and 10K and get your ears used to hearing fundamental frequencies and where they land on the keyboard and all the rest of it. I spent a little bit of money going to school to do this or whatever. iZotope has just released this website where they have fun ear training exercises and really clear, sober, concise explanations of compression, equalization, all the rest of it, the fundamentals of audio. So reverb, all that stuff, sound waves, it's super helpful. If you familiarize yourself with these concepts, even just at a pedestrian level with what iZotope has to offer, you can go even further and go to the library and get some books out on Understanding Mastering by Bob Katz or something like that. But just at a fundamental level, and if you train your ears to detect certain frequencies and stuff, if you find yourself at home with a mix that you've just finished and you can tell that it's too bright, or you can tell a little bit of, little hot, 13K, I'm hearing 13K, or I'm not hearing enough low end, or I'm hearing way too much mid-range or whatever, that's impressive. It's really you'll feel better about your skills, and you'll feel more confident with your listening and stuff. And if you walk into another studio and someone asks you, what do you think of this mix? And you're able to say, it's a little bright, that's very impressive. I would encourage everyone to head on over to iZotope's page. I'll link to it in the description. I forget what it's called, but it's just a really great learning tool. iZotope is just kicking ass these days. The next thing I want to say is, if you are lucky enough to get a gig as a composer, because it's hard these days, listen with your ears and not your eyes. What I mean by that is you'll often get footage, you'll get a rough cut, or hopefully you'll get a picture locked version of what you're going to be making music to. And a lot of people just start watching and then they start composing. And that's fine. But if you listen to experienced composers, if you listen to people like Hans Zimmer, or I was actually just watching a fun documentary on the Powerpuff Girls and the composer from the, I forget his name, but anyway, they all describe their process in a kind of different way. They don't really watch stuff right away. What they'll do is they'll learn about the characters. So they'll learn about, let's say, character X and how character X comes from a troubled family and he's a very sort of introverted guy and blah, blah, blah. And then they'll sort of take what they learned about that character and find the right sonic symbols. So whether it's, a guitar or whatever, to sort of meet the needs of that character and then go from there. So that character has a certain theme based on the traits and attributes and the story arc of the plot. So it's very tempting for you as a composer, I think, to sort of watch the footage and go, okay, this is an action scene, or this is a scene where they're fighting or whatever. But I think you can get even deeper if you approach composing music as more of a character study than seeing what's on the screen and just going ahead and composing and getting into it. When I was listening to the Powerpuff Girl documentary, the guy was saying that of the three, there's one that's very sort of in your face and tough, and so he used like big beat techno for that. There's another one who's very sweet and cute, and so he used a different kind of score for her to sort of mirror that character on the screen. And they all kind of came together and he was able to blend all these sounds together. But that's the way that I think you should be thinking as a composer. So character study, learning about the characters, what inspired them, what their arcs are, and how you can represent that musically. So those are 5 kind of all over the place tips, but I think that getting them together and enacting them is really important. And also, don't just like watch this and then like, cool or whatever. Like go and do it, like start actually applying what you know and what you think you know. Knowledge is just stuff that you apply, right? It's not stuff you just kind of learn and then you go to the next video or you go to the next chapter or whatever. Really try and do it and try and enact it and see if it works for you. Maybe it doesn't, but that's okay. At least you tried it. Okay, so that's it for me. I got more videos coming up. I'm going to do one on Foley and sound design and mixing for film. So that'll be the next one. Again, the Vodkast. Ask a question in the email below or just hashtag Vodkast on Twitter. Tweet me up with a question, and I'll be happy to answer it on a new series here on my YouTube channel. Thanks very much for watching. Like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Take it easy.